caucuses.
Yeah, right. So go live in your grifter echo chamber where you guys can play songs with bad audio and then say, whoopsie.
Up yours, woke moralists. We'll see who cancels who.
My anus is bleeding.
He can't sit down.
They call them dumps, big massive dumps.
Got a flame coming out of his butthole.
Beta male.
Get in a long tube with a bunch of demons.
Don't you ever do that. Don't you ever do that. I tell you, don't do it.
Oops.
We're under attack. It is an alien force, not of this world. It's not human intelligence.
Bullshit.
Trust me, I'm like a smart person.
Bullshit.
It's not a salami sandwich.
Disappointed!
Repeat the line.
Disappointed!
How you like that, boy?
No.
Give me a break.
Stop it.
Fired.
Fired! Fired!
Bitch, move it along.
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
Say, whoopsie.
Around the nation, Waldorf Nation. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. I gotta get that sound clip. That was from, by the way, the Tim Pool Emma Vigeland debate. I really wish I would have been able to get all the sound clips for that, because that sounds like it was fun. But anyway, we have another bunch of interesting stories here to talk about today, including more internal Republican drama. This time, Freedom Caucus. A little bit of infighting, and you know what that means. A lot of fun. Okay, so we've got that. We've got Kari Lake getting herself in trouble, setting up another L, a gigantic L for her, I think. Candace Owens back with a cell phone scam. Another one. Not kidding. We're going to read some reviews. I think you're going to enjoy that. Then Greg Abbott, of course, comes after workers in Texas. Pretty disastrous story. And then, of course, Florida, going after free speech. So, a little bit of an older story, but something I think that we may have talked about before. But yeah, it's getting worse. Okay. With that said, before we dive into the stories, please like and share the stream if you haven't already. Important that you do so. Helps us out. Explain this whoopsie. Yeah, it's Tim Pool. Emma's response to that, by the way, was fantastic. If you haven't seen that debate, and I haven't watched it all either, but I've seen that clip already. Did not go well for Tim Pool. Okay. With that said, why don't we dive into the first story? Yeah. We got Marjorie having some problems with the right wing. More let them fight. Things are not going very well for the far right in the House of Representatives. In fact, just one day after Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert had a very public spat over who gets to impeach Joe Biden first. Do I get to impeach Joe Biden? No, I get to impeach Joe Biden. You're a bitch. Politico posted a piece on how the Freedom Caucus is looking to do a purge of the insufficiently pure. I just want to be pure. I just want members of the Freedom Caucus to be pure and conservative. Okay. Now, according to the outlet, at least 2 members have discussed trying to boot members who no longer meet the group's standards. Standards. While sources who discussed the matter did not name any names, because, and where's the fun in that? It's pretty clear, to me at least, who one of them could be.
Jewish space lasers.
Good old Marjorie Green. That's right. Again, I don't know for sure. This is a lot of speculation. It's also a lot of fun rumor, innuendo, but nonetheless, I'm going to enjoy it. We're going to have fun talking about
Nancy Pelosi's gazpacho police.
That's right. That's right. They'll be the ones to haul her out, So why do I say that? Well, Marjorie Green has been criticized from the right wing for criticizing House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. She has also openly disagreed with the group on certain policy issues. For example, the debt ceiling. Marjorie Green and the Freedom Caucus did not really come to any understanding when it comes to, or mutual agreement when it comes to this debt ceiling deal. So now the Freedom Caucus, massively criticized the deal negotiated by McCarthy and Biden to raise the debt ceiling, and Marjorie Green voted for it. So now, obviously, that's one strike against her, but she's had a few others. Now, Representative Ralph Norman, a member of the Freedom Caucus, come out and said, well, look, we're not talking about really kicking her out. I mean, but she has been critical of us for a long time. Now, as for Lauren Boebert, she didn't really say a whole lot when asked for comment, but she said on the possible purge, quote, if something comes up, then we'll address it. If? Okay, well. She also said, it's really unfortunate that somebody communicated the conversation that took place on the floor between herself and Green, Boebert added, because I was willing to walk away from people wanting to stir up unnecessary drama. Wait, but you walked up to her. At least that's according to Green. And as far as stirring up unnecessary drama, well, it's all unnecessary, but guess what? Just because it's unnecessary doesn't mean it's not fun. And I like to have fun here. And what's most fun to me, at least in regards to my career, is watching the right wing tear itself apart. So please, keep going. Keep up. You're doing a great job. Please keep kicking each other's asses. I love it. Yes, I'm that petty, but that's okay. I admit it. Now look, Green is not the only possible target. There also is some talk and speculation about Jim Jordan. What? Jim Jordan? Now, Green and Jordan, who chairs the Judiciary Committee in this Congress, are the 2 most high-profile Freedom Caucus members that are in the corner of Kevin McCarthy. Both also spoke in favor of the California Republican during his speakership battle. Both voted for the debt deal, and Jordan had praised it on a private call with other members of the Freedom Caucus. Again, something that didn't go over well. Kind of like a lead balloon, Not a very popular position to have. But hey, look, Jim Jordan, when he was asked about it, said, hey, look, we have differences, of course. We're not running weirdo purity tests here. No. He said, quote, any differences that may exist pale in comparison between the differences in in Republicans and today's Democrats. Let's focus on sticking together as Republicans. No, I would much rather you fight each other. So please, keep it up. Come on. Keep up the good work. Fight each other. Now look, here's the thing. My speculation is, one of the people that is most interested in discussing the removal of Marjorie Green is Lauren Boebert. Look, they hate each other with a passion. It's pretty clear that that's the case. I don't know if the rest are on board, but I will also add that MAGA not exactly happy with Marjorie Green. Okay, so I've talked about this before, so let me reiterate. Steve Bannon has said before that he wants Marjorie Greene primary. And now, he had also criticized Jim Jordan, calling him weak, pathetic, a worm. And so, not good. Not good. So now, Stu Peters also went after Greene in some pretty nasty, very personal ways. This was back in December of last year, actually, during the speakership fight. He told the Daily Beast that Greene was, quote, actually a threat to national security. He might actually be correct about that one. Yes, I would actually agree with Stu Peters, of all people, that Marjorie Greene is a national security threat. After all, she, I believe she had read some classified materials and then shared them, which she didn't get in trouble for, which is very odd, very strange. But now he also declared that Marjorie Taylor Greene would, quote unquote, burn in hell one day. Stu, tell us how you really feel.
Get in a long tube with a bunch of demons.
That's what he wants for Marjorie Greene. Okay. So, in fact, here's more of a quote. Marjorie is not America first, but regrettably a faker and a liar who raised millions claiming she would impeach Biden. And now backs a man for speaker who refuses to impeach Biden. Funny enough, Marjorie Greene tried to introduce articles of impeachment against Joe Biden. However, Lauren Boebert got there first and tried to force a vote. Kevin McCarthy, he don't want none of that. He's like, oh, God, here we go. Oh, here we go with Lauren freaking Boebert again. God damn it. Okay, we're not going to do this. We're not going to do this vote. And there were even, I think it was Byron Donalds, who said, we got to process, okay? We got to process. We're not going to go forward with this Boebert impeachment, okay? Not going to happen. Not going to happen. Now, look, there are also swing state Republicans that are irritated with Boebert's push to impeach Biden. In fact, one anonymous GOP member complained to CNN that people like Boebert are going outside of the regular order to push their bills. Quote, all of a sudden they throw a temper tantrum and don't care if it goes through the regular order process they fought for. It's becoming quite clear, the hypocrisy. Oh, Lauren Boebert? Being a hypocrite?
Can't let that happen.
No. We can't say that. We can't. Yeah, we can actually. Because it's true. Now, Representative Tony Gonzalez actually went on the record, and he said, I am concerned. One witch hunt for another witch hunt makes this place all about witch hunts. Meanwhile, the American public are focused on putting food on the table, keeping their kids safe in schools, keeping inflation down. Real issues. That's a Republican. Huh. So, yeah, they're kind of getting tired of the Freedom Caucus's nonsense. And, of course, the Freedom Caucus is mad at the rest of the Republicans, which they call rhinos. So now, more criticism of Marjorie Greene, though. You had Ali Alexander, who was a very prominent member of January 6th, by the way. Quote, there's something so odd about what's going on between McCarthy and MTG. I've only ever once seen anything like it. It may be time for me to intervene. That was, again, back during the speakership fight, and he has not intervened. Then you also had former congressional candidate Laura Loomer, who claimed to be exploring a primary challenge against Greene, but doesn't live in her district. So, look, all of this infighting, it's a clown show. Basically. Yeah, very, very serious people doing very serious things over in the Freedom Caucus. How much of this is actually real as far as dethroning Marjorie Greene, I don't really know. But do I see it going anywhere? No. Look, Marjorie Greene actually did something politically smart. Whoa. No, that doesn't mean smart. It just means politically savvy. Okay. And that's cozying up to power. In Washington, power is everything. And you have to understand that. Okay. So, look, what she got for buddying up with McCarthy is she got all of her committee assignments back. And she's using those committee assignments to get a lot of attention. We certainly cover her enough on this show, and a lot of other progressive and liberal news outlets cover her because she says insane things. But she's in these hearings, and she's obviously lobbing the dumbest, most idiotic questions at people, at witnesses, making a clown of herself. But the right wing loves that. It's the red meat. Oh, they love it. They love it. And so that helps her. That helps her fundraising, and that helps her, well, theoretically helps her at home. And look, she had already gotten reelected quite easily in 2022. Lauren Boebert, on the other hand, barely survived her reelection. So when you do a comparison here, it may not make her MAGA friends happy, but what Marjorie Greene is doing is actually, again, really good for her career. She knows how to climb that ladder. And so I guess you got to give a little bit of respect to the hustle that she's doing. And it seems to be working out for her. And I think the fact that there are people in the Freedom Caucus that want to kick her out, it's probably because she's been too successful. And they're salty. I love the drama. You know what? Far-right Republicans, again, I there's nothing better than Republican crime other than actual real policy, left-wing policy wins, which we never get. But if we do, that'll be a great day. But until then, drama between the right eating its own. Let them fight. Let them fight. Okay. More fun. Loser Kari Lake may be adding another L to her resume, and it might get expensive. So now, what's going on? Kari Lake is being sued by an Arizona election official for defamation. So, oh, look, we have another election-related defamation lawsuit. Look, Fox News settled their lawsuit for $787.5 million over constantly telling election lies. And so now we have a Republican in Arizona, specifically a Maricopa County recorder, that has been singled out by Kari Lake as one of the reasons that she had lost, saying, that's it. I've had enough. I'm suing. In a statement on Thursday, Stephen Richer, a Republican, announced that he had filed a lawsuit against Lake after what he says having his life altered by her remarks. Quote, I am suing Kari Lake. I'd hoped the defamation would stop after the election. I'd waited. I'd hoped it would stop after the first election trial. I waited. I hoped it would stop after the appeal. I waited. I hoped it would stop after the second trial. I waited. I hoped it would stop after she got a new job. I waited. But then I realized I am the job. Defaming me is her path to campaign donations, speaking opportunities, and national trips. Well, yes. True. I can't really find anything false in that one. Yes! All right. Yes, election denial on the right is the grift that keeps on grifting. Okay? It is the golden goose, so to speak, with the right wing. You see, instead of acknowledging when you lose that your campaign missed the mark and analyzing what you did, maybe do a post-mortem on your campaign and figuring out where you went wrong and making some corrections, and trying again, these right-wingers now scream fraud. And they scream fraud at a base that has become increasingly conspiratorial. And so the people that listen to this, the right-wingers, probably, angrily writing comments about how you're wrong, Lintard. Well, you guys are the ones that are opening your wallets to obvious scam artists. I mean, they opened their wallets to Kari Lake, and boom, boom, she's got a pretty sweet grift, taking your money, and she doesn't have to really do anything for it. Just go out and continue to hear herself talk and lie. That's it. Now, look, election denial, good for her. Not for everyone else, though. In fact, for one, the voters themselves are harmed by this. Yes, even Republican voters. I'm looking out for you guys, too. Believe it or not. Believe it or not. Y'all, when you buy into this election nonsense, right? First of all, it makes you angry, irrationally angry, okay? And then it gets some people more motivated to do voter fraud yourselves. Why not? If everybody else is cheating, why can't I cheat? And then you cheat, and you get caught. F around and find out, right? That's what happens. You get in trouble. In fact, a lot of the voter fraud that has happened in the last few elections has been right-wingers voting multiple times for Donald Trump, sometimes in different polling locations, or sometimes writing in dead relatives. You know, all the stuff that you accuse the Democrats of doing, you actually do yourself. And it's because you buy into these election conspiracy theories and think, well, if everybody else is cheating, why am I going to, why can't I? I'm not going to get caught, right? Nobody else gets caught. And then you get caught because you're pretty much the only ones doing it. Oops. But not only that, but the non-insane right-wingers, and yes, they do exist, you're all like, well, what's the point? I mean, if I feel like, my vote's not going to count because it's getting stolen or whatever. So let me back up and say that is still kind of insane. But you believe it because you hear it everywhere. You hear it from Donald Trump. You hear it from Kari Lake. You hear it from all these different people that you, for some reason, respect and believe. I don't know why, because they constantly lie to you. And you sit there and you think, well, if it's getting stolen, then what's the point of voting? And so you actually leave yourself out of the democratic process. And it also has a negative impact on poll workers. There are a lot of Republican poll workers. I don't think you quite understand. A lot of Republican poll workers that go in and they do their job, and they do a good job. They do everything that they're supposed to do. They verify the ballots. They make sure the integrity of the election is upheld. And again, they generally do a really good job. And, a lot of them have found themselves on the receiving end of death threats by people who claim election, conspiracies. Oh, this person is making it, is helping the Democrats steal the election. And these people are like, vote Republican their entire life. They're like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm a Republican. I want Republicans to win. But I'm not doing these weirdo conspiracies that you think I am. I'm just doing my job. And part of it is because you don't understand what the job actually entails. And I remember talking about a man who had, some doubts about the election back in 2016, becoming a poll worker himself, learning how it all works and going, oh, right, okay. No, there's no fraud here. No, it turns out I just didn't understand the process. Oops. So that's what's going on here. Now, these poll workers, again, as I mentioned, they will get threats. They will get stalked. They will get harassed. Okay? And that's what happened for Mr. Richer. So now he admits that while he's lived a very lucky and wonderful life, these defamatory statements against him from Kari Lake have altered his life for the worse materially. And just because I live a great life doesn't mean I have to sit back while somebody says false things about me and says I did truly horrible things that multiple courts found to be false. According to Richer's lawsuit, Lake and her gubernatorial campaign had falsely accused him of sabotaging the election to prevent Republican candidates, including Lake, from winning. It's funny because other Republican candidates who were not Kari Lake had actually won. In fact, in some of the most recent elections, the last two, you had election deniers that lost in a lot of cases, whereas average Republicans actually won. And so running the insane election deniers actually harmed your case. It harmed your party. You lost more because of it. Not because of some sabotage. Really, the sabotage was you. You did it to yourself. Self-inflicted wounds. Now, the comments, again, he mentioned that it hurt him materially, and I can understand why. So he ended up having to pay for security. And also had been assigned a security detail by county law enforcement in response to threats and harassing communications, according to the Washington Post, which also reported that Richer now rarely attends political functions held by grassroots GOP activists, many of whom can remain convinced of malfeasance. And one of the reasons why he doesn't want to show his face is because Kari Lake has been showing his face on her campaigns. In fact, she has repeatedly singled Richard out and displayed a photo of him during rallies so that her unhinged fans will know his face and then target him and come after him. Now, there are people we know on the right wing, on the far right, who are crazy and possibly violent and certainly armed. And so knowing that, terrifying. I can understand this man being absolutely terrified at the insanity being pointed his way. So now Richard concluded that, look, I wish this would have stopped on its own, but it didn't. So now I'm suing Kari Lake to hopefully put an end to the false statements. Whether or not he will actually succeed in that, well, that's another story, okay? Because I don't know if she'll ever stop saying false things about the election specifically, okay? And that, again, that doesn't even talk about whether or not she will win in court or lose. Look, there's a pretty high bar for defamation cases. I am no lawyer, okay? But look, the way that I look at it is if you take someone's picture and you put it up and you say, look at this guy, he has sabotaged the election, even knowing that that is not true. Kind of seems like textbook defamation. Because again, you know it's not true, but you are pointing at this person with their picture and their name and say, this guy screwed me out of my election. He cheated. He did fraud. He rigged the election. Bad. Yeah, that's, I mean, again, that seems pretty open and shut here. You're encouraging harassment towards this person, and he has received plenty of it. So now, then why is she doing this? I think it's, again, the grift. Doing it for donations, and also more importantly for me, I believe that she's doing this because she wants to be Trump's VP. Think about it. She's continuing to do the same lie as Donald Trump about the election, okay? And she's also practically living at Mar-a-Lago. Kind of a dead giveaway, all right? Maybe she thinks that if Donald Trump picks her and wins, she might be able to avoid any sort of accountability for being, as being vice president. I would say that that's a pretty big and stupid gamble. I think it is more likely to blow up in her face, which I guess, based on her track record, she's probably pretty used to things blowing up in her face. But hey, at the end of the day, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. That's what she's going for, Trump's VP. Why isn't she sued for slander? It's clearly affecting him. Well, he's suing her for defamation. All right. Let's have fun with making fun of Candace Owens and her new grift. Her new old grift. It's not the first time she's done this. But we'll get into the details here. Candace Owens is here with a new cell phone related grift. Take a look.
As we continue to stand strong against these woke corporations, I am always looking for alternatives that we can support that align with our values. And one company that I'm proud to stand behind, and they are proud to stand behind us as well, is Pure Talk. Pure Talk is veteran-owned and has a 100% American workforce. They share our values, which is why Pure Talk is the official cell phone wireless partner of the Daily Wire. That's not the only reason. We check the coverage. It's the most dependable 5G network in the United States. They're top tier, but at a fraction of the cost of the woke companies like AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile.
Okay, so obviously she was doing an ad for anti-woke phones. I don't understand how a phone company could be woke or anti-woke, to be honest. But we'll get into that. We'll get into that. So, first off, again, she probably gets paid a lot for, doing those promo codes. You guys would not understand how many emails someone like I get, even get. Like, I'm small compared to Candace Owens, and I get a ton of partnership ad requests and all that for me to do 30-second spots. So this is not unusual. But this is not the first time Candace Owens has talked about anti-woke cell phones. So now look, I think obvious scam is obvious. Again, because you're just playing on woke or anti-woke, whatever, in order to get people to buy a product. But the irony here was discovered by intrepid reporters like Matt Binder. Matt Binder noted that Pure Talk USA operates as an AT&T MVNO. So what does that mean? Basically, it means that if you sign up for a plan with Pure Talk USA, your service will be AT&T. You will be on AT&T's network. I thought AT&T was supposed to be the one of the woke companies that they're against. Come with us, sign up for our Pure Talk, and you will be away from the woke companies, except that we will literally use their woke infrastructure. Oops. Congratulations, well done. Showing once again how all of this is just an elaborate grift. So, by the way, aside from the fact that right wingers also had this long crusade against 5G, where now she's like, oh, 5G, good. Okay, well, you finally caught up. Apparently, they don't exactly have the best, dependable 5G network in the United States. This is at least according to some of the more recent consumer reviews. So let's have fun. Let's read them. Now, this is from June 5th, 2023. And I found that the more recent, the reviews were the worst they were. So this came from June 5th from Roland. He says, I bought my phone in cash. The account told me I owed nothing after cancellation. The customer service made it difficult to cancel, and now I get a random transaction for 3 times the amount of my bill from when I was with Pure Talk. I will be reporting this as fraud, as I received no notice or invoice for any amount owed, and if they contacted me, they did a terrible job. Never support this company. They will steal from you. Oops. Oh, he continues. I expected that transaction justified legitimately or for it to be removed. I will never recommend Pure Talk, nor will I ever waste another dollar with a company that steals from prior customers without any notice or invoice, especially since my account said I owed nothing. Horrible company. Oh, there's more. June 14th, Michael of Meridian, said, quote, this company has been a nightmare in terms of customer support, especially if you want to port out of Pure Talk. They make it so difficult. Now, again, we're talking about how much of a nightmare it is to work with Pure Talk. Quote, I've called into customer service 7 times and gotten nowhere. Worse, their support team seems to be fully remote. Always some random person who sounds like it's their first day on the job. Many are rude. The service has been terrible overall. I had the same data plan that I had in Verizon, yet somehow Pure Talk, We blow through our data, but on Verizon, my phone and Wi-Fi is on Wi-Fi the majority of the day. Stay away. Fun. Christopher, on June 7th, said, since joining your network, I dropped many calls and text messages don't arrive, sometimes for 6 to 12 hours later. Given that this very basic service is not being fixed by your team, I honestly cannot recommend your company to others. Oops. Cynthia said, we virtually never have service. These are business phones. We've had multiple situations where we cannot make a phone call, send a text, even in a business crisis situation like we had last week. We cannot open files nor images more often than not. Rob says, these guys claim to be veteran owned. One of the best affiliates on the planet. They are not. Worst company you could possibly deal with. They told me I would just have to get used to terrible service, even though I was in the middle of their 5G service area. I talked to them 30 times in one day, and the conclusion was that I just lived in a 5G area. That doesn't mean I get service. According to them, then after they sold me a hotspot plan, they told me that with my phone, the hotspot is not guaranteed to work. I just paid for it. Paid for a phone that was supposed to be 5G, but will never be. Stay away. Okay, one more bad review. Brian said, the worst phone service I ever had. I literally have no internet ever. I called to see if there was something you could all do, and the rep said, there's nothing we can do. Thanks for reminding me to get another phone provider. No, look, hey, they're not all bad. In fact, they've got like a 3.7 rating. Okay, so that's not great. That's not 5 stars, but it's not 3 stars. In fact, Ted of Quincy said, quote, I am very pleased with my Pure Talk service. I dropped those blank at AT&T. Who's going to tell him? I mean, you're actually using the AT&T network, bro. I hate to say it, but you know, you're still on the woke network. Okay, there's more. There's more. Shireen of Largo, on June 11th, wrote, I changed because AT&T had ditched Newsmax. Like literally back in January, which was politically motivated. Pure Talk has the same services, but it's cheaper and conservative based. You know what's funny though? Newsmax, literally back on DirecTV, owned by AT&T. Okay? The reason that Newsmax was booted from the lineup is because Newsmax wanted to get paid carriage fees. That's right. They originally, DirecTV just, put it on their network, on DirecTV for free, able to, for people who subscribe to it to be able to watch it. So they didn't get any money for that, but they were allowed to get ad revenue. Okay. So now Newsmax says, you know what? We want money. We want you to pay us carriage fees for the honor, for the privilege of carrying our channel on your network. And DirecTV said, piss off. We're not going to pay you a cent. You're not worth it. You're not a big channel. In fact, you're kind of a small outlier, fringy conspiracy network. No, we're not really interested in paying you for that. We're glad to continue to host you, because you help us by helping politicians that will deregulate, and lower our taxes at the end of the day. But we're not going to pay you money. No, that's absurd. You don't deserve it. And so they asked for it. They didn't get it. And then they cried. They cried and cried and cried. We're being discriminated against. You even had members of Congress that were saying, I can't believe you would discriminate against against Newsmax. How dare you? It's political. It's all political. Even Donald Trump weighed in on this, calling it, political. No, it was a financial dispute. Now look, Newsmax ended up actually not getting any carriage fees, although they are back on DirecTV. And again, it's because they're not worth it. They're small. They don't have an audience that's big enough to justify carriage fees like their competitors, Fox News, CNN, and MSNBC. So now here's the thing. I mentioned that happened months ago, months and months ago. Somebody who just a couple of weeks ago put this comment and changed cell phone providers away from AT&T to this, Pure Talk, whatever, still AT&T anti-woke phone company, right? Still thinks that Newsmax was kicked off for political reasons. I mean, it really attests to the power of propaganda. They believe in anything that you tell them. Anything. And look, they think that they're all victims, okay? And this is the same talking point that's gets regurgitated all over right-wing media. We're the victims. We're the victims. The woke corporations are coming for us. No, I mean, at the end of the day, you actually are victims, just not in the way that you think that you are. They're victims of the massive right-wing grift industrial complex. It's not a new thing. We've seen this before. In fact, Candace Owens also had been pushing other mobile providers, supposedly anti-woke. You had Patriot Mobile. That was also found to have been operating on T-Mobile's networks. Oops. Now, one last thing. Now, I'm proving my point. This is one giant grift. Okay? So now Candace Owens going back to how, these companies, they're so woke. They're so woke. Which is why I'm shilling for a company that literally runs on their network. The woke network. AT&T, you look into their financial filings, to their political contributions specifically, and you realize that they're one of the top donors to politicians that push anti-LGBTQ legislation. Look, this is according to a chart by Popular Info. AT&T, top donor to politicians that are pushing anti-trans, anti-gay legislation. That is happening all over the country right now. Top donor. Then you've got Charter, and then you've got Comcast and NBC Universal, Home Depot, General Motors, Walmart, Amazon, CVS, UPS, Wells Fargo. You just go down the list. All these companies. And by the way, if you see any of them on there that are, trying to rock a pride flag, rainbow capitalism. This is what we're talking about. Where you rainbow wash to say, oh, yeah, no, we support the LGBTQ community, except that you're literally giving money to the worst people on the planet that are trying to destroy the civil rights of gay people and trans people. It's not corporations being too woke that's the problem here. No, the problem here is corporations maximizing, shareholder value by giving to politicians, which, yes, they pass anti-LGBTQ legislation. The reason that they're getting funded by these giant corporations is because they're also passing things like tax cuts for the rich and deregulation. And that's really what it is. It all comes down to their fiduciary responsibility to maximize profit for shareholders. But it also shows you the hilarious grift going on in the right wing, because they claim to be opposed to corporations. Oh, they're too woke. They're too woke. When really, this is nothing more than a platform for them to launch scam after scam on their audience, who gets mad over things being so-called woke. They're going to continue to fall for it over and over again, hook, line, and sinker, because that's really what the right wing offers today. Just grievance politics and scams. What's it called when gambling, when you bet across the board? That's what some companies are doing. Oh yeah, definitely people are doing, companies are trying to play both sides as well. Pharmaceutical industry is really, really good at that. Just blanket, funding everybody. And that's why we don't have Medicare for all. That's why we don't have, even Medicare being able to negotiate all prescription drugs, where we only just have a few in like 2026. Okay. Oh, let me just add, I should have played this.
Woke.
There we go. Moving on. Texas Governor Greg Abbott is under fire for his decision to put Texas construction workers in harm's way during a massive heat wave. So now, last week, Abbott had approved a law that it rescinds city and county ordinances requiring mandatory water breaks for their construction workers in the same week where many cities across the state were reaching triple-digit temperatures. So now the measure, House Bill 2127, was signed into law by Abbott on Tuesday, June 13th, after passing through the Texas legislature. So now, what this was about, there's a couple of different reasons that Abbott signed this. Number one, it's the labor, right? So number two, sticking it to the libs. And number three, racism. We'll get to that. So now first, the cities of Austin and Dallas have had laws on the books for years, 2010 and 2015 respectively, mandating that construction workers take a 10-minute break every 4 hours to drink water to protect themselves from the sun so they don't get heat stroke. Now, the bill will nullify those measures and also prevent other cities from enacting similar laws in the future and go against what state law dictates in areas such as labor, agriculture, and business. So, big government, we love big government. We love it when the big government in Texas tells the smaller city governments what they can and cannot do. Oh, we love having that control. But you believe in freedom, though, right? No, of course you don't. So now, for one, let me just say, taking away workers' water breaks is pretty effed up. Okay? Taking away any break from workers, kind of messed up. And doing so during a heat wave, when you have, of course, climate change that's going to continue to make temperatures even hotter, and a state that's already had a lot of heat-related deaths in the construction industry is cruel. So now, temperatures were up to 120 degrees around Houston last week, last Thursday and Friday. So we've had some pretty hot temperatures in Texas, and you're taking away water breaks from workers. That's cruelty for the sake of cruelty. One Twitter user wrote, Texas is already the top state for workers' deaths. Abbott wants to make sure it stays that way by signing what is being called the death bill. Another user wrote, this is cruel. Texas is one of the states where most workers die from high temperatures. According to, and there's, by the way, numbers to back that up. According to U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, at least 42 workers died in Texas between 2011 and 2021 from environmental heat exposure, making Texas the state where the most workers die from exposure to high temperatures. Now, Abbott looks at those numbers, 42 workers, and look, average people, normal people look at that and we're like, oh, wow, that's horrifying. I can't believe we live at a time where workers are dying from heat-related causes, okay? Greg Abbott looks at this and he says, those are rookie numbers. We're going to have to pump that up. Why? Now, again, as I mentioned, owning the libs, but also supporting, corporations, corporate rule. So now the bill, which was authored by Representative Dustin Burrows, has, again, a lot of Republican support. He said the law will rein in local and county officials that have exceeded authority and will give small business the consistency they need to invest and grow. The bill is a lifeline for small businesses who need consistency and certainty to invest and grow, said Republican State Senator Brandon Crichton, who also supported the law. So wait, I don't understand. How is having workers take a 10-minute break every 4 hours to have water and get out of the sun in triple degree temperatures, how is that killing small business? That is ridiculous. That's 20 minutes every 8 hours of work. And again, you're saving your workers. Well, it's because Republicans want to crush workers into the ground even further, to really take it to labor. But it gets worse. As I mentioned, racism. It should be noted who this law would impact the most in Texas. In that state, construction workers are majority Latinx. Oh, in fact, in 2020, according to a study, Latinx workers comprised up to 70% of the approximately 950,000 construction workers across the state. And more than half are thought to be undocumented. So basically what Abbott is doing is putting up a giant middle finger towards the already vulnerable and exploited community and ensuring that their employers can exploit them even more. And if they die, in his estimation, then they die. I mean, half of them all are undocumented anyway, so I guess it's a win for Texas. Yeah, if you're a sociopath, which is exactly what he is. Now, San Antonio Mayor Ron Nirenberg responded to this by saying this bill is undemocratic. It's probably the most undemocratic thing the legislature has done. And that list is getting very long. Local voters have created city charters, and I can't imagine that they will be pleased to have their decisions usurped by lawmakers. Anna Gonzalez, Deputy Director of Policy and Politics at the Texas AFL-CIO, says, quote, "Construction is a deadly industry. Whatever the minimum protection is, it can save a life. We're talking about a human right. Yeah, for water. For water, to take a water break." She also added, "We will see more deaths, especially in Texas's high temperatures." But see, again, the cruelty is the point. You know? Cruelty is the point. Texas does not care about its workers. The Republicans do not care about workers, especially since they are largely minority. For them, let them die is exactly what the plan is. Horrifying. Abbott is competing with DeSantis for the worst governor. Very true. Very true. Okay. I'm delighted that migrant workers are moving out of Florida in droves. Yeah, and you know, maybe they should start looking at Texas. I believe Texas is now a majority-minority state. There are more Latinx people there than white people, which, again, white Republicans, I should say. Some of them not happy about it. Gee, I wonder why. Okay. Last story for y'all. Kind of an older story, but we'll talk about it. Florida's new college has been criticized for letting go of a professor for challenging Ron DeSantis. And it may be a violation of the First Amendment. So let me give you some context here. Earlier this month, the college had declined to renew a visiting history professor named Eric Wallenberg's contract. So he had very publicly criticized Ron DeSantis, as well as his overhaul of the new College Board of Trustees. Back in January, DeSantis appointed 6 members to the board that were new, including Christopher Rufo. You should all know who Christopher Rufo is. He's one of the anti-CRT crusaders, and now, again, is part of the new College Board of Trustees. Now, why is this, again, considered to be a possible First Amendment case? Well, again, this professor had criticized Ron DeSantis outside of his profession, by the way. And Rufo, who sits on the board, had made some very public comments about it, supporting the elimination of his job. So now, first, Rufo had openly declared when he had taken over, under the leadership of Governor Ron DeSantis, our all-star board will demonstrate that public universities, which have been corrupted by woke nihilism, yes, woke, that's right, can be recaptured, restructured, and reformed. So immediately they had fired the president and put DeSantis's former education commissioner in her place. And after that, there were some disagreements, right? Again, Wallenberg had come out in some articles, written some op-eds about how he disapproved of this, and even invited a prominent Black history professor, Marvin Dunn, to lecture his students. Dunn was also an outspoken DeSantis detractor. So they didn't like that. They didn't like that he taught a class involving the history of racism, and so they declined to renew his, contract. It's essentially fired. So when that happened, Rufo took to social media and gloated about it, saying that the school would, quote unquote, no longer be a jobs program for middling left-wing intellectuals. Smart people, we don't want smart people teaching our children. No. He added that it's a privilege, not a right, to be employed by a taxpayer-funded university. So now look, this seems like a retaliatory firing, also a firing based on his political leanings, especially being outspoken about his political leanings and about his disapproval of the changes that DeSantis has made. So now, look, he was first the college's only U.S. history professor. He had some pretty good student evaluations. He had support from inside the social sciences department. Wasn't any complaints about his work. This wasn't anything work-related. The thing that he did wrong, according to them, was, again, openly criticize Ron DeSantis and Christopher Rufo. That's it. So let me give you some details on the op-ed. This was in March of 2023. He and another professor wrote in Teen Vogue an article titled, New College of Florida, the Conservative Christian Takeover by Ron DeSantis and Chris Rufo. After that article was published, Rufo posted screenshots of the two teachers' resumes and wrote, quote, pure left-wing Mad Libs. Luckily, both are visiting professors. So basically saying, oh, look at these guys. Oh, it's a good thing they're visiting professors, which means that we can, maybe down the line not renew their contract. Saying it without actually saying it. Now, then when the New Times broke the news last month that Wallenberg's contract was indeed not renewed, Rufo confirmed on his social media account that Wallenberg would not return to campus. And he said the college is, quote, reviving the great classical liberal arts tradition and setting a new standard for public education. I wish Professor Wallenberg well, and I hope his work on radical theater and environmental movements finds a more suitable home. So, look, that comment is him rubbing his face in it. To me, that seems pretty obvious what's going on here. Okay? It's one of those...
Oh my God! He admitted!
Admitting it without actually coming out and say, yes, we got rid of him because of his political views. Now, look, Christopher Rufo is allowed to have his own political views, and so is Wallenberg, especially since he was doing this off campus. Okay? And again, criticizing something, that's an American tradition. Yes, criticizing politicians and not getting any sort of, pushback from the government. He did mention that it's a taxpayer-funded university. So if you're fired as a retaliation for your free speech, for expressing your political opinions, and your contract does not get renewed by the people that you are criticizing, that seems to be a pretty clear First Amendment case. Now, is that going to be easy to prove in a court of law? No, it's not. But I think when you look into it, when you really drill down into this, And look at all the statements that Rufo has made. Look at all the statements that Mr. Wallenberg has made against DeSantis and Rufo. And you can see. You can make that connection that this was definitely political and definitely retaliatory. And unfortunately, that just shows that free speech is definitely not alive in Florida, and that it continues to be a state where they're pushing indoctrination while claiming to be against indoctrination. Okay. That's it. That's all I got. Well, that turned out to be I think a pretty good show. Pretty interesting. All right. So thank you for going around the nation with me today. I'm going to read some super chats here. Rufo has a long track record. He's not fit to be in that position. I agree. He definitely has a long history of, trying to stifle education. All right, so Gabby Mathis, very, very generous today, with a very generous $20 super chat, says, 2 years ago, cannabis was legalized in my state, and 2 years later, my hubby calls me stoner. I do it for my glaucoma. Yes. Yes, of course you do. Of course. I wouldn't say anything otherwise. Not at all. Not at all. Enjoy it. Enjoy it. Have fun with it. Anyway, also with the very kind 6 gifted memberships. Thank you, Gabby. Straw Carpenter with a very kind $10 says Katie Porter for U.S. Senate. There you go. Jonathan Leiter says Happy Pride Weekend from an old gay man. All right, Jonathan, thank you very much. Happy Pride to you. And let me just add,
We have to keep our country gay.
We have to keep it gay, and it's got to get gayer. Make it more gay. Let's do it. All right. With that, let's go over to our Twitch community. SBoom85, thank you for resubbing with Prime. 30 months. Wow. 6 months for 3 years. Time flies when you're watching, Jeff. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I really do. Awesome. Awesome. Best community in the world. All right. Top 376 show for sure. Thank you. Thank you. It's up there. It's up there. All right. So, look, y'all, have a great weekend. Thank you all again for watching. Love you all. We're going to raid here, Twitch community, into KF Logan 1875. Everybody, make sure to say hi. Tell them I sent you. To everyone else, love you all. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, nation.
Disappointed!
Obama. Win. Can't let that happen.
I will eat your ass.
Stop with the questions. Celebrate.
Get in a long tube with a bunch of demons.
Sexual anarchy.
You're kicking me out the door. You're kicking me out the door.
Woke.
Up yours, woke moralists. We'll see who cancels who.